Hi, good morning, everybody. Jessica Griffith. I've been selling real estate since 2007, and I wanted to touch over a topic really quick this morning that we don't really talk about very often, but we should talk about a lot more. And I love to create transparency in my business. I love to educate my clients and help them understand exactly what it is I do and why it works. And one of those arenas is talking about commission. Now, when I sit down at a listing appointment, the first thing many sellers like to talk about is commission. So, what do you think buyers like to talk about when they sit down to write an offer? They like to talk about the purchase price, right? So, if I sit down at the table with a seller and the first thing I'm willing to do is discount my commission, what is the first thing you think an agent is willing to do when they talk to a buyer about the sales price of a home? That's an interesting thought, right? So, at a listing appointment, I never like to give up commission because commission for me is used in many different facets throughout my transaction. It could be used to create leverage with a buyer's agent to hold them accountable for doing their job, doing it timely, and educating their client and setting realistic expectations. It could be used to credit somebody back during the transaction. It could be used to redetermine the net sales proceeds if something goes haywire in the transaction. So commission really has a lot of negotiating tactics that go with it and some leveraging that it can help with. At the same time, as a large company that operates on a high level, we do have access to these amazing marketing opportunities for our clients. And so our job really is to drive as much demand to a property as we can so that we can increase that sales price. And if we're discounting that commission up front, we're losing the opportunity to use that commission towards marketing. Now, with that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that at some point commission can't be used or renegotiated during the transaction. But if I'm going to renegotiate my commission during the transaction, that's probably going to be the last thing that I exhaust, because I'd rather work with a quality of a buyer and seller than have to go out there and get a quantity of sales in order to make my annual income, right? And so if I have a smaller number of clients that I'm working with who are paying a higher commission and I'm working really hard for that commission, chances are I'm going to do a much better job. I'm going to protect you more thoroughly in the transaction, and your chance of getting sued after we close escrow has just diminished tremendously. And that's because I have all hands on deck and all my attention focused on your transaction, especially with my commission on the line. Now, that's not to say that if we're not meeting the net proceeds that the seller was expecting, and I maybe overpromised in the beginning and I'm somehow under delivering, and it's something that I did or something that I had control over, doesn't mean I'm not willing to be accountable for that and take responsibility and adjust my commissions based on that. And that's a conversation I'm going to have with my broker and my team first. And then if it's something that I have absolutely no control over, then we're going to sit down and meet with our clients and we're going to talk about what that looks like, how it happened, how we got there, and be as proactive in that approach as possible so that all parties are on the same board. So if you, as a seller, are meeting with a listing agent, and the first thing that you do is drill them on commission, and they cave very quickly, just please take that into consideration, that they're really showing their true colors at the beginning of the transaction with you. And if their negotiating skills are weak up front in the listing appointment, chances are their negotiating skills are going to be weak on the purchase price, weak on the request for repairs, weak if the appraisal doesn't come in and the buyer wants you to reduce the sales price. So just take that into consideration, you guys. Again, commission, we don't get paid unless we close the transaction. And our goal in closing the transaction is to make our clients happy, to do a good job, to protect everybody, to drive traffic to get the highest sales price. Because if I can close your transaction and you're satisfied with what I've done for you, then I know that's going to result in referral business. And now I've just saved time and money on marketing and trying to go out there and drum up more business. So again, it's when you pay a quality commission, chances are you're going to get a quality agent. And if I sit down with a seller and they're concerned about what they're paying for, I'm going to ask a lot of questions. What is the purchase price you're expecting to sell at? How realistic are you? What net proceeds do you really need to walk away from? And let's take a look at that in the very beginning so that you have realistic expectations. What are your goals moving forward, and how do we get you there? And what are your biggest fears walking into this transaction? Have you dealt with other agents in the past who didn't do a good job and you feel like you overpaid commission? And as a seller, by the way, when you bought the property, remember you didn't pay a commission to the buyer's agent. The seller paid that for you. So now when you come in, you're paying that commission double. You're paying for 2 agents, and all the commission can be negotiable through the transaction. The strength of the agent really shows when they don't negotiate that commission up front. So I hope that information is valuable and helpful to you guys. And happy Friday. Gorgeous outside. Hope you're having a great day.